Okay,
Perfect.
welcome to my viewers and the radio show here on UK airwaves. Here to introduce my next special guest who's waiting in the wings. It's great to meet and greet showbiz personality. We have Nicky Doll on my program here in the UK and Europe to chat about his latest projects. How are we today?
Hi. Good. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Great. And where are you situated right now in the world?
I am currently in Paris, but I'm usually based in New York City.
Sure, we might talk about New York later on in the interview, but my first question really for you was, being in show business, was that something you always wanted to pursue? And who are your musical idols you looked up to when growing up?
I've always wanted to be on stage from a very young age. I've always wanted to make music, but then growing up, my path just kind of like switched a little bit, and I started to go on stage as a drag queen. That's really how I started. But the people that I've been looking up to musically really kind of did the same thing. If you think about it, David Bowie, Grace Jones, Cher, Madonna, Lady Gaga, all of these people kind of like put on this persona to go on stage, and I just did the opposite. I created the persona first, and now I'm going on stage to sing my songs.
And then Nicky Doll, would you say that's an alter ego?
Well, so you would have asked me that question 5 years ago, I would have said yes. And now I'm kind of saying that Nikki Doll is the vessel that allows the human behind to really just shine. But she's the Superman to my Clark Kent, for sure.
Amazing. And how did you decide on your stage name? Because that's what you're professionally known as.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to be able to have a name that allows me to not have only one identity, but really tap into all the different kind of dolls that I wanted to represent. I'm a big nerd at heart. I grew up watching a lot of anime and played a lot of video games, loved Greek mythology. And so in order to be able to venture into all of these kind of things, I wanted a name that was allowing me to do that. So Nikki Doll.
Great, got it. And one of the reasons I invited you on today's program was to chat about your brand new single, I Have It. It's called How Do I Look? Can you
Yeah.
just tell me and my listeners about this exciting new release and how it's been receiving at the moment?
So How Do I Look is the first single of my new EP called Apollo Artemis. And I really wanted to pay homage to queer artists that have passed before me, like The Ones or George Michael. And growing up, this song meant a lot to me. And so I wanted to add my own little zest to it with How Do I Look? And it's a song about, self-love and having the audacity and the charisma to go out there and be proud of how we look, who we are, regardless of where we come from and how we actually look.
It's a great
Uh,
record. Like
Thank
Flawless,
you.
it was a hit in the early 2000s, and Flawless Go to the City, as you say, George Michael. It, if I stand right, it slightly samples Keep on Dancing by Gary's Gang, who were quite prominent in the New York disco scene in the late 70s.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was a way for me to really be able to encapsulate all of the things that makes me who I am. I'm a French guy that moved to New York City, that comes back a lot in the UK to perform, and so I wanted to have a song that really represent who I am as a young queer artist, and I feel like this song is doing just that.
Amazing, because the 70s in New York City, Manhattan, were an iconic time, with Saturday Night Fever and Studio 54.
Yes, exactly. So it was like a sexual revolution. It was a way to like really embrace who we were without having the fear of the police or the violence in the street. It meant really a lot to be able to be unapologetically who we are. And I feel like New York at that time and Manhattan at that time was exactly that. And so I feel like now we've grown to have so much more privilege and rights, but we are somehow going backward a little bit. So I wanted to really bring back that kind of energy because God knows we need that right now.
Yes, we do. And you've also released a French version of this song to appeal to your native audience, where you're from. And what French artists have like inspired your life, because dance music is big in Europe, Daft Punk, Stromae, and so on.
But Stromae is definitely someone that inspired me a lot. But there's also like a disco icon named Amanda Lear, who is French and who has inspired me grandly. But Daft Punk definitely is also a very big group. But I do have a tendency to sing mostly in English because I feel like my performance comes out more. I just connect way more to the melody and the rhythm of English language. But definitely Amanda Daft Punk are people, and Stromae are people that have massive impacts on my music.
And you've also released different like remixes of your songs as well.
Yes.
Let's start with the Guz remix, which has like a slightly higher energy dance feel to it, slightly more BPM.
Yeah. Well, so as a drag performer, the stage that I usually perform at are the clubs. I grew up in the clubs. I created my own identity in the clubs. So it's always very important for me to bring back some of that creativity to the dance floor because I think this is where we feel sometimes the safest. This is where we create our own community, and this is where sometimes we can learn how to be ourselves without having fear of society or pressure from families or anything like that. So I will always try to provide for the dance floor because that's where I found myself.
Cool. And the Mr. Root remix has a slightly halcyon feel to it.
Yes. Yes, because I wanted to be able to also have a different vibe. I think dance floor is a very broad term. You can go in Vauxhall at 3 a.m. in London and go to a certain kind of dance floor, but you can also go to like a lounge with a cocktail and in a date. And I feel like the Mr. Root one would fit better that. And I wanted to really be able to show the DJs that there's all kind of remix for them to be able to pick and choose.
And it's good you've got an extended mix there just to give the DJ, the transition to go from one track to the other rather than the radio play.
And so that's a funny story. I don't think I've even mentioned it anywhere else, but I'm taking classes for DJing because I've always been so obsessed with that craft. And so because now I understand how hard it is sometimes to transition, it was really important for me to do an extended version for DJ not to hate me.
And one question which is related to nightclubs. Have you ever been in a club or a bar and you've heard your track pumping through the speakers?
It actually happened to me recently in the US. I heard the song for the first time in New York City, and it was not because I was in the club or people saw that I was there. It was just in the playlist. And then the time where it actually made me feel very emotional is when I heard it for the first time in the radio, and it was in a cab in Paris, and that felt very, very emotional because, in queer clubs, obviously you're gonna play sometimes some queer music, but to be able to be played in a random car by a stranger at a random time of the day, that felt very special.
That's so good to hear. And what was the process of, going into the recording studio? Do you find that is a nice route, like of escapism?
Absolutely. I think I've always dabbed into writing music. I never really, for the longest time, I was not allowing myself to think that I was worth going to the studio or worth the time of, music professionals. But then once I've, through drag, allowed myself to be more proud of who I was and to understand the potential that I had, going to the studio was very cathartic and meeting other people and creating through my perspective and theirs and feeding off of each other has been truly amazing. And now it's like a drug. I really just love to create music. I just released the EP and I'm already working on the other music because I just love it. It makes me feel good and it makes me feel like I'm contributing to the art form and I think that's what it's all about.
So going into the recording studio really makes you creative and imaginative, to get your ideas as a songwriter.
Yeah, because as a drag performer, most of the time, I know in the UK it's different because a lot of people are singing live, but most of the time you are paying homage to someone else's art. You are, singing covers of another artist's song, or you are lip syncing to someone else's song, or you're making a mix of different people's music. So to be able to be a drag artist, but also have my own print and my own perspective and share my own life experience it was something that was very vulnerable. It was really hard to start, but now that I've started, I feel like I found my voice, and it's just it's impossible for me to stop. I just love it. I love to lip
Good,
sync and I love to do all the rest, but I just love to create music.
great for you. And you've also lived in San Francisco, New York as well. You've relocated to. How do those two cities contrast?
So the fun fact is that people, when I moved from Europe, when I moved to the US, they said, "Oh, you're gonna love San Francisco. It's the most European city in the US." Well, I don't know about that, but it's a beautiful city with a beautiful queer history, and it felt good to go back to the roots of us as a movement and how the past that we have. But New York is truly where I found my groove, and it feels like the big sister of Paris and London all mixed together. And as successful as you can be, you will never be successful in New York because there's always more successful than you. So I just love that city because it keeps me grounded and it feeds me a lot with culture, music, and drive. I just feel so much more ambitious when I'm in New York.
That's what it's all about. I listened to a song, Empire State of Mind, Part Two, and in the song it says, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere.
That's it. That's it. The one thing that I've learned and actually helped me a lot to grow as an adult is when I moved to New York, it was really, really hard for the first 6 months because I was putting so much pressure on myself. But then a New Yorker told me, and it's gonna sound sexual, but I promise it's not. A New Yorker told me you're gonna have to let New York swallow you, and then if it spits you out and you can stand on your 2 feet, you are a New Yorker. And it lasted 3 years. And after 3 years, it felt like I finally found my people, my stability, my apartment. And now it's been almost 9 years that I'm there and I will never leave, I think.
Wow, good to hear it worked out for you in the end. Finally
Thank
settled.
you.
And do you feel dance music in general has changed over the years and is constantly capturing new audiences from around the world?
Absolutely. I think dance comes and go. Like sometimes people like, Eurodance were big and then they were like, oh, it's kind of like outdated. Now we're gonna go more into like electro dance. But now I feel it's coming back slowly. We can hear this with Zara Larsson that has like a very big Eurodance footprint. But dance is always going to be around. And I feel the more life is complicated, the more people need to go and evacuate on the dance floor. And I think now is really a time where people need to log off and sweat on the dance floor. And that's why I wanted to contribute to that, hopefully, with Apollo and Artemis.
Yeah. And any advice to someone who's in a club and they want to dance, but they're a bit shy to, if, say, your record comes on?
Oh my God. I think if you are on the dance floor, you don't have any friends with you, and you just need to log off, just go for it. Sweat it out. You will find your people. And I think sometimes being vulnerable at the club is the most free thing you can ever do to yourself, and people will be attracted to it. So don't ever feel pressured to fit. You're at
Yeah.
the club, just go for it. Go
Let
wild.
yourself go. Good advice. And you've also released a version of Don't You by the Pussycat Dolls. That was a worldwide hit. Was
Yeah.
this one record you always wanted to put your own stamp on?
Yes, so I when I during COVID I had a show called Cover Girl where I was mixing fashion but also doing some jazzy covers of songs that I've always loved. And Don'tcha was definitely one that I think it was also a frustration for the Pussycat Dolls not to go back on tour. So I was like, since I can't go and see them, let me just do my own twist of their songs. And so I've done Don'tcha, but I've also done Toxic by Britney Spears. And these are two pop tracks that shaped me as a queer and a drag artist. So I wanted to
Hmm.
add my own zest to
Yeah.
it.
Have you met anyone from the Pussycat Dolls who was a former member?
I actually met Nicole Scherzinger twice, yes.
That's
I don't
amazing.
know. I don't know if she heard my version, but I did meet her, and she's an incredible, incredible artist.
Great. My next question for you, you mentioned hearing your song on the radio was a rewarding feeling. And you mentioned a new EP and album as well, which your latest singles took from. Has it been inspired by Greek classical, mythology?
Yes, so I wanted to be able to find a title for the album that would appeal and explain a lot of things about me. And so I wanted to show that, my gender is way broader than what people think. It's not just in the binary. And Apollo and Artemis are two twins that from the Greek mythology. One is the god of the sun and the music, the other one is the goddess of the moon and the hunt. And so I wanted to show that I had both of these energy and entities in me, not because I'm the god of beauty, but more because I'm a more of a masculine and feminine vibe, but as well to describe the genre of pop that I wanted to tap into. You can have some very disco pop, uplifting, pool party and sunny kind of music, but as well you have like a more subversive punk, electro, and self-descripting pop music. So it's an umbrella under what fit all the songs.
And do you have a standout track, which is your personal favorite?
Well, How Do I Look is definitely one of my favorite, but I think the one that is the most meaningful lyric-wise would have to be Come With Me because it's a song that I sing to my inner child. and try to explain through that song that you have some time to deprogram things from your childhood to grow up as your own self, to then come back and pick up that kid and say that now I can take care for the both of us. And so that's what the song is
Yeah.
about.
And being in the spotlight as well, you have a busy schedule. Do you have any strategies to help you like relax or unwind in this fast-paced world?
You're gonna call me a workaholic, but actually being in a studio and trying to find top line and scratch sentences and write new ones, it's one of the most therapeutic thing I can do. And I really just love to be in a moody light with some jazz or Sade in the background and try to just write music.
Sometimes when I just need a little bit of downtime to ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, as much as I can be a public, figure and be on stage and, be the life of a party, I need my alone time quite a lot. And I think weirdly enough, the older I get, the more this is required.
And there's
Uh,
so many questions wanted to ask you, but one of my standout questions, what was the experience like performing at the Paris Olympics last year?
it was one of the highlight of my life would be to would know to that I was there. It was an incredible honor, uh, and I was proud of my country to know that it was important to showcase France in its totality and queer people and people of color, people of all shape and forms are also part of this beautiful country, and we were showcasing that on that stage under heavy rain on that bridge. And even if there was like some negativity or backlash, we slept so well that night because we knew that we did something that was needed to be done.
And Paris, that's the most romantic city in the world still.
Um, Listen, I don't want the president to call me, so I'm gonna have to say yes. Paris is very romantic, but I'm being lucky enough to have traveled around. There's plenty of other very romantic cities around the world, but Paris is a special one.
Nice. And do you have anything you'd like to say to your fans or followers or any advice you may wish to give them, like follow their dreams?
Uh, yes, I think the thing that I can say is we can read all of the inspirational quotes and self-development books, but at the end of the day, it's all about knowing who we are as a person, knowing that we don't hurt anybody as special or different as we can be, but it's all about putting one foot after the other and believing in ourselves and just go for it. And I think never ever settle thinking that this is good for someone else and not for me. Go for it if that makes you happy.
Some very positive, wise words there. Well done. And finally, my always finish my interview with this question. Where is best for people to follow you on social media or websites and streaming platforms?
So you can follow me at the Nicky Doll on all platforms. I'm very active on Instagram. I do answer DMs, but this is where usually you will be able to follow everything. If I go on tour near you, or if you want to stream my album, the link is also in my bio. And yeah, you can. I would be happy to have you around me.
Well, I just want to say thank you very much for your contribution on today's show and answering my questions so beautifully. And yes, you're a natural. So your
Thank
new
you so
single's
much. I
out
appreciate
now.
it. Thank you for the great questions.
Yeah, new single out now, and we'll post the links down below and get this played on my sister radio show as well. Nicky Doll, the Nicky Doll on today's show. It's a pleasure to have you on today's show, and all the best with everything.
Thank you so much.